Good morning, welcome back to Thrill of the Chase. Greyhound racing like you've never seen it before. Wasn't it an incredible night of racing last night from the Meadows? The superstars, they were intriguing. The Australian Cup was absolutely awesome. Just a wonderful night of racing. We're going to delve into that a little bit later on. But once again, I'm joined by the all-star superstar cast. We're starting with you, George Ferrugia. Your highlight last night, mate, what was it?
I think it's Tommy Shelby.
Yeah.
I think his run between the first sectional and the second sectional is as good as I've ever seen at the Meadows. Has his time arrived to win a Group 1 on the mainland? He's just about there,
I think he announced himself in Hobart, didn't he? But he's getting better and better. And speaking of getting better and better, this man on our left-hand side, he walked into the studio today with a little bit of a limp. His pocket was that heavy. Mitch at Bayer, what was your highlight, mate?
Morning, James. Morning, George. Highlight Sunset Burbsky, $2.30 earlier in the week was a dead set gift, and I hope people got on because it was $1.30 last night, and where she should have been.
You could tell the moment he walked in here, he just had that swagger, pinned the shoulders back, and we knew he'd done all right last night on the dabble, and he did with Sunset Burbsky. Very, very well found. Well, this is what's coming up on today's show. We've got, of course, all of the action from the Meadows last night. It was huge. The 2 Group 1, lots of heats. You also, a little bit later on, we'll have the cross to the Meadows. Jason Bonington, Jason Adams for the Australian Cup box draw. Now, this is a race that could change the lives of those involved. One of the biggest names in the NRL, Pappy Go Fast, Ryan Papenhuyzen a little bit later on, and another feature story that you are not wanting to miss. It is a bumper show. It will be jam-packed from start to finish, no doubt about that. Well, let's get straight into the agenda. And we must start with the Australian Cup heats last night. We're going to look at the first 4 and then post-box draw take a look at the last 4 because that box draw is so very important to the chances of these runners. Now, we're going to start with heat number 1 of the Australian Cup. It was Tiggerlong Tonk, box number 3, George. Tiggerlong Tonk doing what Tiggerlong Tonk does best.
Absolutely, and I thought his run last week in the Temlee was really good. It was a good lead up to this heat, and as you said, he did what he had to do. He's now made the Melbourne Cup and the Australian Cup finals. I think that's a testament to his longevity. Tommy Shelby's done the same thing, but like you said, he was just really professional, and with a good box draw, he could become an Australian Cup winner.
He's got a terrific will to win, hasn't he? Mapunga Felix was driving at him, but just couldn't quite run him down. He's just got that will to win. Next up was Tyler Durden from box number 5, and I guess, Mitch, the surprise may well have been the early pace that he showed. He got into a striking place early.
Yeah, I didn't expect him to go 5.16 early, but when he did, you know how strong he is, and it's gone 17.70 down the back and run a really slick 29.66, so has to be some sort of chance if there's a bit of jamming early, and yeah, he makes another group final.
I know that in the most recent Group 1 in Sydney that Jeff was pretty bullish of the chances of this greyhound, and that he believes if he gets a clear run, he can just about take on anything. And I guess that heat run there sort of proved that.
Especially with Fernando Kaz sort of sitting on his hammer down the back, and he ran away from her a little bit. But yeah, look, probably a box draw is going to be pretty important for Tyler Durden.
Yeah, well, I think the box draw is going to be so important for so many of these. There's no doubt about that. Up next was Lakeview Cruiser. Now, this is just continuing that wonderful start Team Whelan from Meatung have had to the year, and just another greyhound that's absolutely flying at the right time.
Great part of the world, Meatung, and of course Lakeview Walter winning the Silver Chief. Can Lakeview Cruiser also join him as a Group 1 winner at the Meadows? Again, it was really willing on that first corner. Wow, just didn't begin cleanly and then tried to drive through, but I think the race was over just right there. He's a greyhound that's really hard to get past Mitch, I think, when he finds the front.
Yeah, he pushed through hard on the first turn, and I tell you what, this greyhound has turned into something else in the last probably 5 runs. He's developed into a really good greyhound and running time as well, and he went pretty slick last night, and they're having a lot of fun, the Whelan boys down at Meatung.
Well, I think the Whelans would have driven back to Meatung with a real spring in their step, mainly because they safely held Wow as well, which, of course, he was the Group 1 team lead champ the week before, so it was a very big statement run. Speaking of statement runs, well, this may well have been the run of the heats. Tommy Shelby, he is an out-and-out superstar, this greyhound. Box number 5, he overcame that within the first couple of strides, and he just chased like a champion.
Oh, he absolutely did, and the more important part is he began safely, James. He can be a little bit hit or miss, Mitch, and that's been his undoing in some of these really big races. But last night, as I said, 17.43, only a length outside his dad's sectional record in Fernando Bale, so it was just extraordinary.
Yeah, he's a freak, and he deserves deserved everything to go his way. He obviously had a greyhound inside him that wanted the fence and made the space for him early, but to push through and hit the front. And once he hits the front, he's awfully hard to catch. And he's one of the best in the business, and it's good to see him perform in Victoria.
And the one thing I liked was the margin he put on them when he accelerated through that first corner, and you knew he was going to be running time, and that's exactly the way it was. Well, we're going to catch up with the last 4 heats a little bit later on in the show after the box draw, but these were the big-name superstars that missed making the Australian Cup. Shimmer Shine, Equaliser, Wow and Yozo Bale. What did you guys make of them?
Well, Shimmer Shine's run was outstanding. Just didn't begin all that cleanly. And of course, Fernando Bluey was off and gone. Equaliser had no luck again, slow beginner. That's always going to be his the way forward for him, probably 600 metres.
Yeah.
When you get to this top class, he relies on a little bit of luck. So, and the other two, Mitch?
They're all big runs. Yeah, Wow was a massive run. He covers a bit of territory. He runs obviously in the middle of the track and couldn't reel in Lakeview Cruiser, but Yozo Bale just found one better. And Shimmer Classic, it's a greyhound going places. And I thought Yozo was one of the best bets of the night. Wasn't to be, but it's still he's a very good greyhound.
Well, speaking of stars that miss, I don't want to disappoint you two guys, but we are missing the star of the show, Molly Haynes. And the great news throughout the week that Molly and her partner James welcomed the birth of their first baby girl. Harriet, the name has been confirmed. I've just got that down the ears. So Harriet, so congratulations to Molly and James and all concerned. Harriet Piper Shaw, I believe, will be the name. So very, very exciting time, no doubt. And it's always a very exciting time. My little bloke's nearly 5 months old and the time is absolutely flying by. But let's turn our attention now to the superstayers. And I've been saying for weeks the superstaying racing is maybe as exciting as the sprint racing, if not better. And these heats were just mouth-watering from day dot.
Yeah, they were. And look, Sunset Burbsky burst onto the scene, didn't she, Mitch? But then had a little bit of a lull. But now she's racing in the zone again. And she just powered away to score in really impressive fashion. And I know there's going to be a lot of early speed, especially drawn towards the fence. But she's got to be a huge chance next week.
Oh, she's an out-and-out star. And when she gets the right run, she's almost impossible to beat. And we know she drops out early and wants to circle the field. And that race last night was made for her. That's why I said $2.30 was a gift. She went around $1.30 and yeah, she absolutely blew them away. And she's got to be a big chance. She's a run-on type of dog, and yeah, there's a lot of speed early inside. Well,
ever since Mitch Bay has been on the show, I don't think we've heard that much from Mitch in regards to any greyhound, but he clearly likes Sunset Burbsky. And for you, mate, what do you think she needs to do if she is going to win the final next week?
Well, obviously there's a lot of speed inside. We've got Houdini Boy surrounded by Zach Manali. He's going to put a lot of pressure on run like Jess as well, and we know she's going to drop out and stay wide and want to circle the field. So she's probably going to need a little bit of luck, need them to bunch up a bit going down the back or into that home turn. And I think she can circle them. She's a star, and she just has to avoid getting pushed too wide on that first turn, I reckon.
Well, if she does, she'll be powering home at the end. What about Stanley Road? This greyhound, I've got so much time for him, and I thought this was, despite it not being the fastest of the 3 heats, I thought the win was just enormous. He's drawn the 6. We see him stuck on the outside of Citraculin, who just, to be honest, pestered him the whole way, but eventually he broke through and was too good. But he's a serious conveyance.
Yeah, I'd love to see the head-on down the back there, because you would see probably Sir Truculent just pushing off him a little bit. He needed all of the 725 to get the job done, but he's in the similar mould to Sunset Burbsky. Probably sits a little bit closer in running. He was pretty close last night. So, yeah, when the whips are cracking, he's going to be coming home with a wet sail. He's
a very exciting type. What about Zach Manelli? I'll quickly start with you, George, because last week you said this is, the greyhound to follow almost. You said he was unlucky not to have won the Zoom top, and he proved that turning the tables on Houdini Boy.
Broke his own sectional records again last night. I mean, outstanding. 29.07 to the back marker is just ridiculous. There was a time where if you ran around the 29.30 mark, you were going to lead 99 out of 100. So, look, at no stage did I feel comfortable in running, though, because you had Houdini Boy sitting behind you, even though he led by 10 or 12 lengths, and you always knew Houdini Boy was going to come. But he did enough, Zach, and can he do it for another week? That's the question. Yeah,
he's got tremendous early speed, and we know that early speed sets up races, and he was impressive last night. He led and held off Houdini Boy, who was finishing really fast, and it was always that whether Houdini could avoid the trouble and catch Zach Manali, and couldn't last night, but Zach, yeah, he sets the tone early.
And the times there, James, right? Around 42.20, Sunset Burbsky 42.44. So to your point about her needing a little bit of luck, if they just jam up a little bit. Conditions were really good for fast times as well. Whether we get that next Saturday, I'm not sure.
I thought he might have been close enough, Houdini boy behind Zach Manelli, but he showed a fair amount of strength to hang on and win, so he's going to be a huge contender next week. Well, of course, we're going to make our first cross out to the Meadows now. Jason Bonington ahead of the Australian Cup box draw. And Bonners, you have the boss of the Meadows now, Ashley Baker.
I certainly do, guys. Welcome to you and welcome to the Meadows. It's a pleasure and a privilege to be out here for the box draw for the TAB Group 1 Australian Cup. And I'll tell you what, years ago I decided, Ash Baker, never to get into the executive game. And recently I'm very pleased that I did. So COVID's been a challenge, but the last couple of weeks have been terrific. And last night's action, racing-wise, superb.
Yeah, fantastic, Jason. Look, it's been a busy 12 months and a really tough 12 months for all of Australia, but particularly here in Victoria. And I'm just thankful that we've been managed to get through the first 2 weeks of our Australian Cup Carnival, and now we've got a super final next Saturday night and the all-important box draw coming up shortly. And
it's just incredible, isn't it? Look, I see the turnover in the greyhound world. You have your heroes, Simon Told Helens and Hardstyle Ricos and Whiskey Rights, and then they move on and you get your new batch. And that's what's so exciting about this field. You've got a couple of old stages that are looking for their big Group 1 breakthrough, Christo Bale and Tiggerlong Tonk, but the new young guns as well.
Absolutely. It was only a month ago we were talking about Simon Told Helen and Shimmer Shine. He missed out last night, and Tiggerlong Tonk, I think he's due to turn 3 shortly, and he gets a crack at another Group 1, so he'll be looking for a good draw for next Saturday night. But there's some exciting young dogs coming through, and that's what's great about our sport.
There was a great atmosphere here last night, but we know it could have been bigger. It will be big here on Saturday night, won't it? I mean, we'll get the crowd, hopefully. Nobody sneezes. We'll get a big crowd here and we'll get that great atmosphere that you want on a great race night like the Australian Cup.
I hope so. Look, we've still got some news to come towards the end of the week when the Chief Medical Officer obviously looks at the situation here in Melbourne, but we're hopeful that we can have up to 1,000 here next week, and I'm sure it'll be sold out.
Have you tried picking up that the Australian Cup right here? I tried to pick it up before. I haven't been doing a lot of working out during the pandemic crisis. That's a proper trophy, isn't it? That's heavy.
It's a heavy trophy. We had it out last night on display, and I can tell you it's a two-hand job. So whoever takes it home next week is going to be very happy.
Now tell us, I know you've got to remain diplomatic and sort of step away from it a bit. Who do you think's going to win the Australian Cup?
It's a tough one, Jace. Look, I love this up-and-comer Fernando Bluey. He's a quick dog. If he draws well on Saturday night, he's got such great speed, but there is so much speed in the race. I think anyone who draws inside probably those first 3 boxes is going to be the hardest to beat.
Were you as up and about as Calicottral? Were you as mature as her when you were 18?
Not at all, mate. Didn't have a head on my shoulders like she does. Fantastic for our industry.
I certainly wasn't. Back to you guys. We'll be back very soon for the all-important box draw for the Group 1 TAB Australian Cup right here at the Meadows.
Yeah, thanks, Bonners. We'll be back shortly for that. Well, it's now time to turn our attention to the analyser. I must say this is my favourite part of the show, but I might be being a little bit biased. What I'm going to take a look at is the Australian Cup heats. Now, it's all about the box draw on this episode because I think it is the difference between winning and losing the Australian Cup. Now, let's take a look. We'll start with Tiggerlong Tonk. He drew box number 3 in his heat. He began okay, but he ran a nice straight line early, so he could win from anywhere. On the other side, we've got Tyler Durden, who jumped from box number 5, and if anything, just wanted to shift up the track a shade. Now, we're going to let this tape roll on to Australian Cup heat number 3. Lakeview Cruiser drawn box number 6. Another greyhound who I think could effectively win from anywhere. Ran a nice straight line in the early part. Now, heat number 4, let's look at Tommy Shelby. I love this. He jumped beautifully. He shows a nice turn of pace, and he does what a good dog does. He cuts across to the rail. He chases so hard, and he puts them to the sword in the first 50 to 100 metres. He's a huge chance to win the final next week. Fernando Bluey, almost the carbon copy of what we saw with the greyhound in the previous Tommy Shelby. He jumped, he cut across to the rail, and he was just too good. He set it up in the first 100 metres. Utah Blues ran a nice straight line from the inside. He's going to have to improve overall if he is going to contend. Christo Bale, box number 5. He wants to veer up the track a little bit. And Shimmer Classic, 5 as well, also just wanted to push up the track, took a couple of bumps and was able to accelerate through. So by looking at all of that, my earpiece isn't fitting too well, but I'm confident I've broken down that analyser to 2 very, very key points, lads. And those 2 key points are if Tommy Shelby or Fernando Bluey can draw inside, I don't know how they can lose the Australian Cup because the way they cut and run in the early part, they're going to be mighty hard to beat.
Tommy Shelby's done that for his entire career. I mean, he did that in a heat of the $1 Million Chase as well, where he was challenged a bit early and just drove through. He's such a terrific chaser. Love the footage of Shimmer Classic too. How's that? She just copped a bit of a knock, but just kept chasing. She's had 9 career starts. It's incredible.
Yeah, she's an absolute star in the making, and this sort of race could be what sets her up for her future. And yeah, the head-on, there's no better footage in any race than watching head-ons, because I think it was an Australian Cup 2 or 3 years ago where the Dailies won and the dog from box 7 just peeled that hard to the fence that it gave the box 8 just a clear run into the first turn, and it makes or breaks.
Well, this box draw is absolutely everything. And interestingly enough, 5 of the 8 winners of the heats were from box number 5, which is extraordinary. Normally the toughest draw to jump from. Well, so much more to come. The Australian Cup box draw after the break, Ryan Papenhuyzen, and a very special feature story as well. Welcome back to the thrill of the chase. It is effectively a bit of an Australian Cup episode, of course. We're about to head out to the Meadows for the box draw for the big one, the Australian Cup. And as I've said, this is the race that could change the lives of those who are involved. And lads, you talk about races you want to win. I think everybody says the Melbourne Cup is probably the race, the Australian Cup is the other. It's not just the $300,000 to the winner, but it is also the prestige of winning an Australian Cup.
It's an unbelievable honour roll, isn't it? And if you can get your name onto that, or your greyhound's name onto that, it's a huge thrill. So you're right, the financial rewards are huge, but having that cup on the mantelpiece would be massive. And
it is all about to get one step closer now with the box draw for the Australian Cup. It is a dream that could become a reality for those involved on Saturday. Let's get trackside to the Meadows. Jason Bonington, Jason Adams to begin the 2021 Australian Cup box draw.
Thanks very much, Jim. Back here at the Meadows, and I don't often get nervous these days after doing this for a fair few years, but there's an atmosphere here. There's a dim silence. This is very important stuff. Box draws. Do you need to draw a low box here to win the Australian Cup, or is the composition of where everybody else draws going to be so crucial here as I bring you in, Jason Adams?
Yeah, the latter point there, Bon. I mean, we've got a lot of early pace in this field. We saw some electric performances last night, but you're right, it's not vital to draw, I guess, towards the inside. It's most important as to who's around and what sort of room you're going to get to accelerate.
Everyone's going to want box 5. How many box 5s won the other night? I think 6 won the other night, which is just outrageous. I don't think anyone really wants box 5 in the Australian Cup on Saturday night, but it was just an unusual night of racing with so many wide draws getting the job done.
It was, and what we saw was, I guess, what we touched on just before, that clear room to accelerate. We saw the likes of Tommy Shelby get that, Tig Long Tonk get that as well, and they took full advantage. So we know they're absolute stars, and when they get that chance, they don't let it go.
Let's break the tension. Even Steve Withers, who is always smiling, he's not smiling right now. He's got his head down, so you know this is serious stuff. All right, let's get the festivities underway. Paul Searle, who is, of course, the Chief Steward at Greyhound Racing Victoria, will draw the names. When you come up, crucially, take the replica trophy with you. Don't put it back on the table. Connections. First dog to be drawn out. Box draw for the Group 1 Tab Australian Cup here on Saturday night. Utah Blues, Tim Britton. Come up and have a chat with Jason Adams after you draw box 1. That's a great way to start. Tim, have a chat with Jace.
Tim, he's used box 1 superbly a couple of times recently. How are you feeling? That's perfect.
Well, that's the only one I wanted, but yeah, he's going to need it. He was going to have a chance.
Your dad Rob's a legend of the game. He'll be happy at home.
Yeah, I'm sure he's pretty happy. He'll be enjoying it. Yeah, happy to be here.
Good luck, mate.
Cheers, mate. Thank you.
His job's not done, Tim Britton. He's got to sort of do a circle because he's got Tyler Durden, I think, that he's going to be drawing out as well. But one of the roughies probably in the race, but box 1, that's a good way to start, Joe.
Yeah, and that's vitally important. I mean, if he draws wide, he can't win the race. He's drawn box 1, puts him in the play.
Paul Searle, Chief Steward of Greyhound Racing Victoria, draws out Shimmer Classic. No Shimmer Shine, but Shimmer Classic will be here. Come up and have a quick chat with Jason Adams after we draw, and it is box 3 for Shimmer Classic.
Trevor
Most
Smith,
inexperienced greyhound in the race. Jace, have a chat.
She is. She's been awesome since she started her career, Trevor, and I guess for the dailies as well, a series where they've had great success.
They've always had good success in every big race in Australia, so she's always a chance. Anything's a chance when you've got a daily training.
Well, Trev, good luck to you and the team.
Thanks a lot.
Representing Team Daly there, and now for the third dog to be drawn out. Box draw here, $300,000 to the winner of the TAB Group 1 Australian Cup right here at the Meadows on Saturday night. Christo Bale, Miles Dalbridge. He's looking confident, just swaggering up. Box 8 for Christo Bale. Have a quick chat with Jace. Miles?
Miles, box 8. It was terrific last night, as we know. Your dad, Mark, how will he be feeling at home?
Oh, be just happy they even made it this far.
We know he was fresh coming into last night. Is there improvement left in Christo Bale?
Oh, well, we just hope that there is, but it's just up to him, what he wants to do.
Well, good luck to you and the family, Miles.
Thank you.
That's not the end of the world for Christo Bale, is it? Very, very strong customer. The way he finished off on Saturday night last night was terrific.
He is, and he's not the best beginner, but importantly, from that sort of draw, he can hold his line. So he's a class act, as we know.
No Lakeview Walter, but Lakeview Cruiser team Whelan. Charlie Portelli to come up and do the honours. They're flying this team. We still don't know, Charlie.
There we go.
What is it? Box 2. He wanted to make us wait for it, Charlie. Have a chat with Jason now about Lakeview Cruiser.
Charlie, the team had a Group 1 win at the Meadows already in the early part of the year with Walter, now with Cruiser.
That's right.
What do you
mate.
feel about that draw?
Yeah, look, I think they'll be wrapped, mate, to see that number come up. They were hoping to get the 1, but I reckon 2's pretty good too, eh? So thanks a lot, fellas. Yeah.
We saw a big team here last night, extremely passionate, extremely excited.
Yeah, there'll be
Coming
more
back next week.
There'll be more here next week. So, yeah, let's hope everything goes okay for the boy.
All taking the long drive from Meatung. So congratulations,
Okay,
good luck.
Thanks a lot, mate. Okay, thank you.
Charlie's giving himself a pat on the back there and did a great job. They'll
He's
be
quite
right
happy,
with
isn't
what
he?
I've done here. I've killed it. The next dog to be drawn out for the Group 1 Australian Cup, sponsored by Tab right here at the Meadows on Saturday night, is Tommy Shelby, the people's dog. Steve Withers, he's just slowly moving up. This is not Miles Dalbridge stuff. He's just moseying up. Box 4 for Tommy Shelby. I think you'll be okay with that. We'll find out now. Jace, have a chat with Steve.
Steve, it's been box 6. It's really, he's had to get used to in the past. Box 4 was a bit better though.
Yeah, 6 to 5 last night, into 4 this week. We're getting there. Give us another 3 starts. We might get down to the red.
You mentioned last night you didn't really care what you drew. You just want that clear room early because that's exactly what he needs.
Yeah, opportunities are everything in these races. The speed's hot, the talent's huge, so getting a clean run early is crucial.
We know the charity aspect to his career. Who's he running for in February?
WA Volunteer Bushfire Fighters was a tough month in WA. There's big fires. They fought for a week, so yeah, racing for the Bushfire Fighters.
Good luck.
Thanks, mate.
All right, we'll rip through. We've got a few dogs to come out, but he's going to be a major player, Tommy Shelby. What an amazing performance it was here last night. Paul Searle next, greyhound out for the Group 1 Tab Australian Cup. Fernando Bluey, this is the one I think Jace was tipping pre-draw. Kayla Cotterill just throws the right arm out. 6, well, that's sort of a nervous smile, I think, Jace. Find out from Kayla what she thinks.
It is. Kayla, we know he won the Australian sprint from box 1. You said leading up you're quietly confident. Box 6, do you still feel the same way?
Oh, look, I don't think it really matters where the dog draws. He's just got brilliant box manners, but I would have liked to be drawn on the inside. I think we all would have, but yeah, no, we'll just see if he can take it to the night.
Good luck.
Thank you, cheers.
We won't be redoing it, unfortunately, Kelly. You've got box 6. 2 more greyhounds to come out for this huge race right here at the Meadows on Saturday night, the Group 1 Tab Australian Cup. The first rule of Fight Club, we don't talk about Fight Club. Tyler Durden, Tim Britton's got to come up and do the honours again. Only 5 and 7 to go. Well, it's a special box 5. Jace, have a chat with Tim again.
It is a box 5. Good one, Bond, because he won from that same draw last night. His trainer, Jeff Britton, at home. How do you think he's feeling?
Yeah, I mean, if he's in the right spot in the race, I think he'll be, you wouldn't want him behind you. But yeah, he done it from box 5 last night, so I don't know. Yeah.
Good luck.
Thanks. Happy birthday, Mum.
I'll tell you what, Tim forgot it the first time. He had to get that out. If he didn't, he would have been in trouble. Happy birthday, Mum. One more greyhound to be drawn out. It is Tiggerlong Tonk. And I think, unfortunately, we know where Tiggerlong... Well, we do. Box 7, have a chat with Jace Kelly.
Kelly, we spoke briefly last night. Corey had 2 jobs for you to win the last race last night. You did that.
Yep.
And the draw inside. Had a chance to do that.
No, I didn't have a chance at all.
But he's a gun dog, as we know. Clear room. He takes off. He was awesome last night.
Yeah, he was great last night. He had ideal draw last night, but we were hoping for, an inside box, but we'll see what he can do with this,
Well, to you, Corey, good luck.
Yes, thank you.
Hope I didn't convince her it was box 5, it's definitely box 7. Okay, we've seen the draw now. Jace, quickly before we head back to the studio, I know you were keen on Fernando Bluey. Still has that explosive speed. Can Fernando Bluey still lead this Australian Cup on Saturday night?
I think he can for sure. He's got Tyler Durden on his inside, who we know is just a fair beginner, so that's absolutely vital. Fernando Bluey was almost a length quicker than any other greyhound last night to the first split, so he's got that brilliant pace, and I think we're going to get a chance to use that on Saturday.
Kelly doesn't look overly convinced over there, I've got to say. Who's your tip now? I know you can change your mind between now and Saturday, but we want to know right now, who do you think is going to win the Australian Cup right here on Saturday night?
Fernando Bluey, of course, we'll go through it throughout the week, but right here, right now, Fernando Bluey.
Fan of Bale Superstars?
Put me on the spot there, Bond. I love Houdini Boy. I think he's well drawn, but we'll look at it a bit more later in the week.
You're the form analyst. You've got to know these things, Patch. Well done to
Sunday
Jason
morning,
Adams.
Bond. Come on.
Well done to all the connections. Magnificent draw. I think it's going to make for a great race. I'm with Tommy Shelby. We'll head back to the studio, guys, and you can dissect what you've just seen here, the Group 1 Tab Australian Cup box draw at the Meadows.
Yeah, we've seen plenty. Thanks, Bond. Really throwing Jason Adams under the bus there. But what do we make of that draw? It's extraordinary for some, and I think a few of the outsiders are the runners that have actually drawn well.
Usually we see a couple of the inside draws alive late, but they just took them up nice and early. Look, I don't think Fernando Bluey is that badly drawn. He's got Tyler Durden on his inside, as Jason Adams mentioned, Tigalong Tonk in the 7 and Christo Bale in the 8. If he begins like we know he can, I think he'll be hard to beat. His last 10 runs, not even 1 or 2, his last 10 at the Meadows or Sandown, he's run between 497 and 507. He's just so consistent out of the box.
Well, we had Cater on the show last week, and that was the one thing we mentioned too, that he is so consistent from the start, and that's obviously when you're getting to a race like this, the pressure's going to be on. You've almost got that head start if you know you are going to begin quickly and lead the race.
Yeah, well, as Kayla said, the box didn't really matter because he's got such good box manners and early speed that he can win from anywhere. So I think they would have loved the inside. Does he make the race for Tigalong Tonk and Christo Bale, carving across potentially? And it's a fantastic box draw.
It is, and Shimmer Classic may be wanting to push up the track as well, might have a bump with Tommy Shelby at the start. It's going to be huge. The Australian Cup, don't forget, Thrill at the Chase will be there as well for that. More to come today. We've got Trent Langscale with the market up after the break, and Ryan Papenhuyzen as well. So much more to come. Welcome back to the Thrill of the Chase. In case you missed it, we had the Australian Cup box draw conducted a little earlier on in the show, and it was just intriguing. Here's the draw. Utah Blues, one of the roughies, coming up with box number 1, and the big names have all drawn a bit awkwardly. Tommy Shelby 4, Fernando Bluey 6, and Tigalong Tonk in box number 7. They were probably the 3 big name greyhounds going into that final. Christo Bale drawing out there in box number 8. Just quickly, lads, who would you say is the winner from that box draw?
I'm a big fan of Lakeview off box 2 and then Shimmer Classic off box 3. So I think it's made it for a few of the young guns, and a few have drawn awkwardly.
And I think Fernando Bluey might be the winner in the sense that when I say the winner of the box draw, who's drawn and can now go on to win that race. And this greyhound Fernando Bluey might just be that, George, because he can overcome any box because of that early speed.
Yeah, look, and 5 of the 8 Australian Cup finalists ran around the 29.70 mark, including Fernando Bluey. He hadn't had a run for a month, so you'd think even if he knocked a tenth off, even if he run 29.70, he could still win it. You've got to go around him. If he can lead, it'll be incredibly hard to defeat.
No Shimmer Shine, but there is a Shimmer Classic, and this greyhound was electric. Mid-range turn of pace was red hot. Once she balanced and was able to slice through and take the lead, she just turned up the heat in this heat of the Oz Cup.
Yeah, went 17.53 down the back, which is absolutely scorching, and we know she's been a class greyhound from day dot, 25.02 at Warrnambool first run. But to come out and run this in the heat of the Australian Cup just shows that she can match it with the best and finds a few lengths on the run home. Who knows what she can do.
The most impressive part for me, James, was that she just began on terms, if that. Like, she certainly didn't fly out of the box and still balanced up and ran 5.02. She's got the attributes to be winning group races, I think, and whether it's on Saturday night or later on, she's only had 9 starts. History says that she can't win on Saturday because she's so inexperienced. But I think there's a group win soon.
Well, she's only 22 months of age, so it's going to be an enormous achievement if she is able to win the Australian Cup. We speak of Shimmer Classic. Well, a man who had his life turned upside down. Let's get to know Matty Height as we get to the break.
Matt's a pretty straight up and down sort of a bloke, dedicated to whatever he undertook, you know, whether it be his work in the police force, the greyhounds, or certainly very dedicated to his family.
Started with my dad training in the early 80s. We used to travel around the country a lot travelling, and I'd go everywhere with him. We had a lot of success in the early days, so that sort of spurs you on a bit. And I trained my first dog myself when I was 14. I just love the animals, beautiful animals. And I'd been going to Warragul as a kid when I moved down to the area. I was always racing there and trialling and doing stuff at Warragul, and ended up applied for a position on the committee, and eventually I became the president of the club myself, and I loved it. It was just such a great involvement. I spent nearly 25 years to the day in the police force, solving a case of the Black Widow, probably one of the bigger ones in Ivanhoe. On Father's Day, I had to work at Nearham South. Had an operation running on the road. I was feeling a little bit off at work, and I got in the car and drove home. All of a sudden I lost my vision, and I remember I thought I'll go down and see my chiropractor in Druin, and he just looked at me and said, in my car, I'm taking you straight to the hospital. Little did I know, my carotid arteries had dissected in my head, both sides, and I was bleeding into my brain, and I had no idea. I just went to Warragul Hospital and I did a CT scan. Next thing you know, I was in an ambulance being rushed to Monash, and I got out about 17 months later. Not long, come out of a coma and had a craniotomy, so they took half of my skull out to allow my brain to bleed. And I was just discovered I was paralysed and I'd need a wheelchair, and I was pretty down. And my good mate Clint rang Terry Morris.
Well, Clint came and approached me and he said, look, Matt's really down, and he said, would there be any chance we could take Jesselenko into hospital? And I said, I'd love to. And I followed Jesselenko's career. I loved him as a race dog. So we surprised Matt walked into the room, and the smile, we'll never forget the smile on his face when Jesselenko walked in and got on Matt's bed, and it was just magic. And it just changed his approach and his attitude towards his recovery.
So after Matt's stroke, we actually had a major fundraising event here at Warragul, which was extremely well supported by the police force and the greyhound industry. And perhaps in my time here at Warragul was probably the most memorable night we had. Being involved with it and seeing the joy that it brought to Matt and the support we were able to give to Matt and his family was just sensational.
Terry eventually bought a really good brood bitch. Thought it's her fate to breed to him. And as soon as she had pups, I put my hand up to buy a couple, and they're turning out to be very handy little dogs. They're good.
To be back involved in greyhounds after what Matt's gone through is just, it's a dream come true for him. The dog last Sunday won his maiden in the maiden heat, and he's in a final this Sunday. And the little girl, his sister, she's a flying machine. She's probably the fastest dog I've ever trialled at Warragul. Yeah, Matt Clark offered to train him for me because he realised I was not going to be able to do it properly, and it's very fortunate because he's a top trainer, and him and Bianca have got a fantastic setup, and they really care about the dogs and look after them as if I would. The dogs have certainly helped me, and I would spend a lot of time learning to walk again now because, as I told my physiotherapist, my goal is to be able to walk the dog out and kennel them again and do everything and race them and box them and do the whole lot. So I hope he gets a champion. I really do. I hope we've joined together and bred a champion. I really hope so.
South Wales coach in the bubble, I should explain that. Here's Papenhuyzen. He's made a break over halfway. Happy's on his way again. They're not improving. Melbourne take first point in the second half.
Well, it was once Molly's Lounge. Last week it was Lou's Lounge on location. As we welcome you back to the thrill of the chase, we are on the home bend now for this show. But this week it is George's Lounge, and he's out there with Ryan Papenhuyzen, superstar from the NRL, from the Melbourne Storm, Clive Churchill medalist, I should say. What a superstar he is, NRL premiership player. George, you've got a superstar out there today.
Oh, absolutely. We are joined by a very special guest. As you said, Melbourne Storm fullback, Clive Churchill medalist, and of course a premiership star, Ryan Papenhuyzen. Welcome to the show, mate.
Thanks for having me on. It's a pleasure.
Mate, firstly, on behalf, I know you're a Sydney boy, but on behalf of everyone from Melbourne and Victoria, thank you for keeping that trophy down south. Tell us a little bit about the year. It was a crazy year. You spent most of the year playing interstate. Yeah. How was the thrill winning that grand final?
Yeah, it was pretty surreal, I think, especially after the year we had. I think moving away from home and a lot of the lads had family back here, and we have a lot of friends down in Victoria as well. So it was really pleasing that at the end of it we sort of got that reward and we could share it with everyone back home. Oh, see you, Teddy. But yeah, it was a pretty crazy year, and something that wouldn't have imagined to happen at the start of the year, but it'd come a long way and we'd put it all together, and yeah, to get the premiership at the end of it, it's pretty special.
And personally, must have been wrapped to be best of field, to be judged best of field.
Yeah, that's a pretty big achievement, but at the end of the day, it was always that premiership that was the main goal, and everyone just sort of came together and made lots of friendships throughout the year. The team got a lot closer, so that was probably the more pleasing thing, was just winning the premiership for everyone in the team, and then yeah, everyone back in Victoria.
Beautiful. We just got ex-racer Teddy here, who's just walked out of the shot. He's just a bit camera shy. For the Melbourne Storm fans, how's 2021 tracking? How's the pre-season been?
Good. Shorter pre-season this year. Obviously started back in January after just because the year went a bit longer last year. So it's been a bit shorter, but definitely stepped up the intensity, and a couple new rule changes this year, so should make the game a bit faster, and yeah, excited. Round one's around the corner now.
Beautiful. Now, we know you're a racing fan and a greyhound racing fan. Tell us a little bit about Gary's Gift. You owned that greyhound in his race career.
Yeah, Gary's Gift was my first greyhound, so how I got into that was me and a few of my cousins. We sat around at Christmas one time. We thought, let's do it. It's a cheap way to sort of get into it. You know, the horses and were probably a bit too expensive, so we said we'd go the greyhound way, and ended up getting into contact with John and Minnie Finn out there, and went to the farm out there and picked out Gary and got him as a pup, and then took him a couple of years to get educated and whatnot, but it was well worth it because he made it to the track. A few wins, some really good nights out at the track as well. So that's how I got into it, and yeah, ever since then I've just fallen in love with it.
Now, your portfolio is growing a little bit. You're also part of the national draft, Team Britain. You've got Kiss Me Kate and Absolute Ruby. Tell me you were on Kiss Me Kate when she paid $61 a win at Geelong.
I'm going to get shamed for this, but I wasn't. I feel like I've got an excuse for it. It was the morning Geelong meeting.
Yeah.
So I think, woke up a bit late and missed it, and then got to an email that you'd said she'd won on, and then I just looked at the odds and shook my head. Because she was a reserve dog, I think, overnight, and got put in late. So, yeah, that was a tough one, tough pill to swallow.
Now, Ryan, you know you've made it when you have a greyhound named after you. There's a very, very good one named Pappy Go Fast. He's extremely fast. Similar attributes to you, obviously, on the field. Have you followed his race career at all?
Yeah, he as soon as he came into the scene, I sort of marked him down, put him in the black book, and there's a lot of dogs running around, so to be named after a good one, it's pretty special. I do plan to go out and watch him because yeah, he's a superstar dog, but yeah, it's a bit of an honour really to be able to be named after him, and hopefully one day I get to meet him.
Well, we've got Teddy here, but he's just gone out of the shot. He's having a lie down, which greyhounds are very, very good at doing. They're amazing pets too.
Yeah.
That's the key, isn't it, Ryan? I mean, we get to see them on the racetrack, but the fact that they can just sit on your couch for the rest of their lives is they're beautiful.
Yeah, I think that's what I'm really passionate about, is the fact that they're awesome athletes. They'd run some really quick times and put themselves in, week out, but really chilled pets, and I think that's something I'm really passionate about, is making sure they go to a good home after their career. And we've got Teddy here. He's got a comfy bed here, but he prefers the wooden floor there. So
I think we can get him in the shot here. He's absolutely not going anywhere, Teddy. There we go.
Yeah. No, so they're awesome. I think that's something really want to encourage, is that they're great pets, and I do plan to have one down the track. And yeah, if they can find a good home after their career, that's something that I'm really want to push.
Beautiful. Well, best of luck for the new season. If we can go back to back, that'd be fantastic if you can do that for us. But thank you for coming on the show, and we might get to see you on the racetrack pretty soon.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for having me on.
Beautiful. Well, that's Ryan Papenhuyzen, of course, an absolute superstar, rugby league champion playing for the Melbourne Storm, which we love. And it's back to you, James. Hopefully I've made Molly proud.
Yeah, I think you did, and I think Teddy did as well, just making himself comfortable there on the wooden floor. But what a superstar he is, Ryan Papenhuyzen. Thanks for coming on the show. And I'd say to win the Clive Churchill medal in a premiership winning side like he did, so dominant, would be like winning the Melbourne Cup by 5 or 6 lengths. So an absolute champion of the game, and great to hear he's got a real strong involvement with greyhound racing, especially here in Victoria. We're going to head to a break. Still a lot more to come. We've got Trent Langscale, the superstar, in my favourite segment, Best Bets, after the break.
Over on the inside, then Hecton Bar to the outside, making ground from Real Simple, followed by Dinah Paddy. Trooper Manelli, 3 Western Loggy on the turn. Poke the Bear, the leader, skipped away. They're going to have to go to shoot this bear down, and Poke the Bear wins the Top Gun in great fashion.
Wasn't he an out-and-out champion, Poke the Bear? Sadly, we had the news this week that he passed away with cancer. So very, very sad. Just reminiscing on some of the great runs of his career. He had 69 starts, 37 wins. He won the Top Gun, the Traralgon Cup, the Silver Bullet. He made 12 group finals. Just an incredible greyhound, lads. And was there one Poke the Bear run that stands out?
Yeah, definitely. I was lucky enough to be behind the boxes when he won the Silver Bullet. Champion female uphill Jill was leading. He was going that fast that he bumped into her, lost all his momentum, picked himself up and was still able to win the race. He's just an incredible greyhound. And, you know, all aspects of life, you go through peaks and troughs. He would have given the Pulio family and the Thompson family so much joy in his racing career. He was incredible.
Yeah,
oh, he was a freak. He was
just a beautiful looking dog as well. So sadly, rest easy, Poke the Bear. Well, speaking of champions and superstars, it's now time to welcome back Trent Langscale, who's entered the scene. And Trent, you've got the market now for the Australian Cup, my friend.
That's right. Good morning to you, James. The box draw has certainly put up a lot of intrigue into what we'll be seeing on Saturday night at the Meadows for the TAB Australian Cup. This is the market that has just opened. Tommy Shelby and Fernando Bluey are the equal favourites at $2.80. Tigalong Tonk at $5.50. Lakeview Cruiser and Shimmer Classic, they're both at $8.50. Then into the double figures for the other 3 greyhounds. It is going to be intriguing. You've got the top liners that we've seen for a while, Tommy Shelby and Tigalong Tonk against some of the up-and-comers. And there are some punters that have got some handy collects, James, going into the TAB Australian Cup. Amongst those, one punter in early February with $500 at $14 on Tommy Shelby.
Well, there you go. There's a few big bets potentially that might come off Saturday night. Just turning our attention to the Vanderbilt superstars. The rising star Houdini Boys got box number 1. How's that market looking?
We opened last night. The box draw took place at the Meadows, and Houdini Boy did go up $1.70, just out to $1.80. Zach Manelli, one of the favourites there for George, has come into $3.80. And I'll also mention that overnight there was one bet of $5,000 at $10 on Stanley Road. Stanley Road into $8 now for the final of the Vanderbilt Superstars. And again, there's some handy collects that are going into the Vanderbilt Superstars. Especially last week we mentioned there was a bet of $5,000 at $4.50 on Houdini Boy.
Well, don't go anywhere, Trent. We've got best bets after the break. We're in the home straight now on the Thrill at the Chase for this episode. Let's get straight into best bets now. And serving up the new ball is George Ferrugia. Who are you tipping, mate?
Yeah, we're going to Sale later tonight. Race
Sale?
11, number 1, Amiga Dodge. Got a lot of time for this greyhound. I've followed him. A couple of his wins recently have been good, so hopefully he can get the job done after running second yesterday.
What price are we looking at?
Around the $2.20 mark, I think.
We'll take that. Last week on the show, Mitch Abaya was willing to take me on. He's regretting that, I feel now. Your greyhound running second and mine getting the job done. Are you going to go one better this week, mate?
Oh, I'm hoping so. I knew that was going to pan out the way it did last week. But yeah, I'm at Hillsville. Rumour is fact off box 1 in race 7. And I think this greyhound is just beautifully drawn.
Little present here for you, mate. This is Hello George beating your top selection last week. Look at Georgie boy drawing away, and you haven't learnt from your lesson, Mitch. You're tipping against Hello George again. What are you doing? What are you thinking?
Something against George's.
Yeah, no, I just went.
It's getting personal.
I went through the fields this morning, and I just thought the red was beautifully drawn. And if Hello George beats me again, I won't be tipping against him. I'll tell you right now.
Third time lucky. Trent, your best mate for coming.
I tell you what, James, George would be getting upset with you, Mitch, if you keep tipping against him. Going to Sandown Park, race 6, number 1, Mandalorian, around the even money mark, and hopefully can get the win. It's been a long time coming.
He's got a terrible strike rate, Trent Langscale. His winning streak is only a losing streak. We couldn't find a win since Thrill of the Chase went to air about 3 seasons ago. So hopefully you can go one better this time.
They eventually get there, James.
Well, I've got a few best bets. Race 4, Sandown number 2, Wardrum Express. He was a little bit short, so I said let's play the first 4 in order, 2, 8, 7, 1. And then a little bit later on in the program, I'm going to go with race 11, a greyhound by the name of Silken. Drawn box number 3, I think should run very well. But lads, been a massive show. Thanks so much to all 3 of you. It's very, very exciting stuff.
Live next week.
We are, yes, exactly right. Well, make sure you do tune in because it is free-to-air coverage on the 7 network for the Australian Cup. We'll be live on track, so tune in that Saturday night for what is going to be a wonderful night of racing.